TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark Savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark Savage stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Hey there. What's going on, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. Excited, delighted to be with you guys again today. As always, we're going to address all things spiritual, spirituality, leaving no stone unturned. We're going to be talking about UFOs, aliens, ETs, angelic light beings, all of these kind of things and how they play into our reality, researching the spirit realm and being visited by these type of beings, which many of you have had different encounters with, which leads you to this kind of work. Some of you guys are approaching this for the first time, and all of this is foreign to you. But yeah, stick around. Buckle up. We're in for a ride. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who is supporting my work via Patreon. I could not do this without your help. This is a listener-funded show. So everybody who is supporting my work via Patreon, thank you guys so much. From the bottom of my heart, you are the enablers. You enable me to do this podcast and the music and the teachings and the community and everything that we're bringing to the table here through this funnel of the TruthSeekah Podcast. Thank you, guys. If you would like to give, please head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. For any level of giving, there's a bunch of really cool perks. My entire life's work is there. My whole discography, 200 plus songs. My book is there. A bunch of extra podcasts, interviews, behind the scenes stuff, a bunch of really cool stuff. So head on over there, check out that, and yeah, support the show. Any little bit helps. Any little bit helps. If you believe in the work that I'm doing, and if the podcast has touched you or blessed your life in any shape or form, and you believe in the work that I've been given here, I ask you to support us financially at any level of giving. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Kenji. Shout out Noah, Shawn Michaels, Hunter Hughes. Bless you, brother. What's going on? And Tiger King. Welcome back. Yeah. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Get it in. We have our Discord, Thursday night School of the Mystics. Bunch of really cool stuff. You get access to all that stuff. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's discussion. My guest today is Dr. Irena Scott. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the podcast.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. So you have quite a story. You've done a lot of research. You've been in this field for a while, enough to have enough, not just as a researcher, but as an someone who has had encounters with UFOs, craft, and ETs and things like that. So just starting off, let's give the listeners a little bit of a background about who you are and what you bring to the table.
Okay. I'm not a professional ufologist my background is in science, and I received my PhD from the University of Missouri College of Veterinary Medicine in physiology. I did postdoctoral research at Cornell University and had a professorship at St. Bonaventure University. My master's was from the University of Nevada, and my bachelor's was from Ohio State University in astronomy and biology. And I've done research and teaching at the Ohio State University College of Medicine and the University of Nevada. I've also worked aircraft identification, and I've worked at that which is relevant to UFOs. Plus, I've also worked at Battelle Memorial Institute, and I've been sent for work-related purposes to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So I've basically worked at 3 places that had to do with UFO phenomena, but I wasn't directly involved in it. I just worked there and found out about things.
So, you working at these places, have you heard the UFO discussion of different people who are in maybe higher seats of authority, who are respectable people, talk about the existence of these, craft or ETs or anything like that?
I've known people that worked for Project Blue Book. I've talked to Dr. Hynek briefly, and my last book contains a lot of his handwritten letters, and I also know a person that worked with him fairly closely at Project Blue Book and at Battelle, and I've used her notes on things and her documents in my last book, Sacred Corridors.
So what, I guess to kind of skip ahead, I know you have tons of encounters and experiences and things like that, but I don't even know if you can answer this question, but what's going on? Like, what are we in contact with? What is watching us? Is it ancient? Is it aliens? Is it demonic? What's going on? Because something is interacting with this outside of the Earth's atmosphere. So at the end of the day, what do you think it is? What are we in touch with?
Well, being a scientist, I've studied this for quite a while, and my basic knowledge is that I just don't have any idea.
Wow.
After many years of study. It's very odd and mysterious, and I don't know if it's technological or spiritual or anything else. So
I like that answer. Because, a lot of times people come on and they have it all figured out. They can tell you that we're in touch with the Arcturian light beings who travel the 7th galaxies to be here to make contact and give us divine knowledge. And these people have these well-crafted stories, and they have books, and they're experts in that field. But I kind of, at the end of the day, I've had a ton of encounters, seen many craft, and I'm with you. It's hard to pinpoint and just say, yeah, this is what's going on. This is what it is. You see, there's a bunch of experts out there who have maybe had one encounter. Like from the Christian community, they'll say, yes, they're demons, and just blanket across everything is demons. And I don't think it's that easy. I don't think it's as easy as saying that they're all angelic. I don't think it's as easy as saying that they all are physical beings that live on another planet, right? There's like lots of different things that we've seen is captured on camera and pictures, and people are having encounters. What was some of the stuff early on? I love to address this to see what kind of gets people into this. And I've heard some of your story, but what was some of the experiences early on as a child that you had that really got you into researching UFOs or just these different encounters with the divine? What were some of the things that kind of sparked your interest early on?
Well, my interest from early on was something that happened to my sister and I before we had ever heard of UFOs. It was years before we heard of UFOs even. We were poor and living in the country, and we had one radio, but my parents selected the stations and things, so we didn't hear anything about UFOs, and I didn't know anything about it. And it took me years to figure out this was a UFO experience. But my sister and I were sleeping in an attic room. She was about 4 and I was about 6 approximately. And it was a nice clear night. And she was in one side of the room and I was on the other. And it was an attic room with walls that sloped upwards and came together in the ceiling about 3 feet apart. Well, I was asleep and I woke up and there was this thing flying around the room. And I had no idea what it was and watched it with curiosity. It looked like a little piece of hot metal. And it was just flying in sort of a browsing motion up and down and back and forth. And it flew around the room several times and got close to us several times. I didn't know she was awake. And after it flew around for a while, and I was just curious, I realized that it avoided obstacles. Like if it came to a wall, it would turn about a foot away. Or if it came to furniture, it would turn. It didn't bump into anything. And so I thought, this isn't something inanimate. Even at that age, we both, I mean, she was awake too, but I didn't know. We both realized that something was not normal about this. It was nothing like a lightning bug or anything like that. And after a while, it flew up toward the ceiling. It made a right-hand turn at the ceiling, so it didn't hit anything. And then it went to the chandelier, which was in the middle of the room, and turned off. The room was dark. And it began to circle the chandelier, between the chandelier and the walls. It didn't feel its way around or anything. It just seemed to know where the ceiling was and where the chandelier was, and began circling. And it circled quite a while, and I think it speeded up a little when it did that. And then it just made a perfect spiral right down into the chandelier. Well, at that time, both of us became terrified at the same time, and we ran out of the room shrieking and screaming. So fast we bumped into each other and fell down the stairs and ran to our parents, and they thought we'd just gone crazy or something and didn't believe us. And so that was, that happened a long time ago, and we didn't have any idea what it was for years and years and years. And then in the 90s, I think I read writings by Jenny Randalls, UK ufologist, and she talked about bedroom visitations of young children of UFO-like objects, small objects, which we had. And then she said that people that experience that often have other UFO events later in life, and we did. And we were sort of unique because we had them together as a child, and we had another one later as adults, both together.
I'm reminded, I was actually just showing this clip here on the side. I'm reminded of the movie that came out in the 90s, I believe, maybe 80s, I'm not sure, but there was a movie called Batteries Not Included with these little ships, these little UFO craft or whatever that was coming down, like little machines interacting with people. What do you think it was? Do you think it was some people would say that there was some type of drone or like a little ship that kind of would come out of a mothership and go out and monitor, which a lot of people believe that a lot of these craft that they're seeing are not manned, that they're just like observing and recording things to report back. What do you think that it was?
I don't know, because our room was closed. The window was screened in and the door was closed. And so we had no idea how it got in. We had no idea why we both woke up at the same time. And we had no idea why we were suddenly became terrified at the same time. It was kind of like there might have been some little bit of mind control going on or something like that. Or maybe missing time because we didn't know how the thing got inside the room. It wasn't a lightning ball because it was just a nice clear night. And so it was long before drones or anything like that. It was a long time ago.
What was the next encounter that you had?
The next encounter I had was on our farm again. And we were poor. We didn't have air conditioning. I was sleeping outside. And I woke up and looked north, and this object was flying over. And it was like a big sphere. It was about the size, and I thought it was about the distance of an airplane going over, but it's just a round glowing sphere. And when it got right above me, suddenly all the dogs in the neighborhood began to bark. And our dog, which was locked in the house and couldn't see it, also began to bark and jump around. And then it went on over, and I was terrified, but I was also scared of my parents. So I didn't go inside or anything. I just stayed out there terrified until the morning. But then later, years later, my sister and I had a sighting together. And it was sort of a long, complicated sighting.
Would you say that they were pleasurable experiences? Did they, like a lot of times when you're a child, it changes your life. It sets you on this path, on this course to seek out answers. You've had experiences that not all the other kids in your class have had, at least to your knowledge, until you get brave enough to start vocalizing it and say, hey, anybody else ever had a little ship fly through your room or something? And the scrutiny that comes with that, and the people making fun of you and the ridicule and stuff. So you kind of got to own it. But I feel like it shapes people's lives when they have those encounters and those experiences. Do you think that it was something good or bad? Was it did it have ill intentions, or what do you think that it like its intent was or has been throughout your life? Is it something pleasurable? Obviously, it does spark like awe, wonder, creativity. There's something else that exists out there. These type of mindsets. But some people are scared of them. Some people wish that it would never happen again. They've had ugly encounters supposedly with these different beings that come in their room at night, but other people will it to happen. They call themselves experiencers or contactees even, and the whole term abduction or abductee has kind of gone out the window in recent years. What do you think? Like, has it been a pleasurable experience, or would you not wish it on anyone else? How does that? How do you look at that? What is your relationship with it at this point?
Well, when the first one happened, we had not heard of UFOs, so we weren't terrified because we thought they were aliens or anything like that. We just had no idea. And we didn't talk about it for many, 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 many years. I wouldn't say it was pleasurable because it was one of the most terrifying things that ever happened to me. And I don't know really why I was scared either, but it was absolutely terrifying. It's something that even today I have some little ditches in my mind about being terrified of things.
Yeah, well, I think anytime you have an encounter where you wake up and something's there in your room, uninvited, it's going to scare you anyway. And I think that's why, like a lot of, like I go back to the Christian realm or whatever, but like a lot of people will have encounters with different entities that are in their room, so they automatically say that it's an alien. It could have been a demon, it could have been a ghost, a disembodied spirit, maybe an angry ancestor. They have these type of a poltergeist. They have these encounters, but then they say, no, it was an alien, these kind of experiences. And so they kind of lump them all together. But I think we do ufology, spirituality, or whatever type of entity that is. I think we do it a disservice when we start just lumping everything and, just kind of labeling it either all good or all bad or whatever. I mean, that's kind of where we are in life right now, 2019, just labeling a group of people of all bad or stay away or they're scary or they're harmful or whatever. Have you had any other encounters with different beings, or do you think that they're all been the same beings that have been kind of, monitoring you or contacting you throughout your life?
I have no idea. At that time, when it first happened, we were both just curious and wondering what was going on. And then suddenly, just like somebody turned on a switch, we were both terrified. And so we had a sudden change in feelings. And at that age, I don't think either one of us had much personality, so I don't think we had any big changes in our personality like lots of people do that have experiences later. I think in general, what it did was make me more open-minded, though.
Yeah.
I mean, when people tell these weird stories, I don't automatically dismiss them.
So you approach it from a scientific standpoint. Where does spirituality come into play for you, or does it?
I don't know. I don't visualize it as religion. I visualize it, UFO information, as more data points to use it scientifically. I mean, people say you believe in it or you don't believe in it. Well, I don't connect it with religion, really. I just think there's information there that you should try to understand and look at it from different ways.
Yeah. But maybe, because there's a lot of people who kind of lean more spiritual after having these encounters. Like I said, asking the bigger questions in life. And is God real? Who are they? What is that? Is that the angels? I'm reading even here in the comment section, Gil Hodges says that his childhood was such that I begged to be taken away by aliens, but I never saw anything. So people want, there's a fascination, of something to kind of like a savior, even these aliens or angels or something like that, something else to exist beyond this reality, whether it's the afterlife or these type of beings that exist and are watching over us. Do you think that they are, that they've been here a lot longer than we have? Do they date back to antiquity? I mean, that's where all the religious, ideologies come from. Were they influenced by these beings, or do you think this is something new that's happening?
Well, I guess I kind of view it as that we humans probably have very limited knowledge and senses and everything else, and we're probably just taking a tiny little bit of our environment, and we may not be very evolved either, because the universe is a lot older than Earth is. So yeah, I think that from evidence, it seems that people have seen things like that all through history that they've recorded or drawn, but it's always filtered through your culture. And so if 3,000 years ago you saw a round ball of light, you might think it's an angel, or you might think it's a globe or an orb or a ghost or something. And if you saw it today, if you saw the same thing today, you might think it's a UFO. But I think it appears that sort of thing has been happening for a long time, but that it's described different ways according to the culture of the person, of the witness.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Especially going back to the Bible, you see, the cloud by day, the fire by night. You see, there was one instance where I want to say it was like Elijah, or it was one of the prophets, maybe Jeremiah, who says that he's seen it like a scroll or like a roll that was glowing red. And everyone talks about these type of red orbs or these orange orbs or whatever the case is. And so people have been having these encounters with these type of craft or whatever. The craft that you've seen, especially being a scientist, so have these largely been the nuts and bolts craft, or have you seen the ones that actually morph and take shape and they almost seem alive, like they could actually be an entity themselves, which some people believe that the crafts are alive as well? Have you seen the two, or has it mainly been some type of nuts and bolts craft that you've seen?
Again, I don't know. I saw things that look like crafts, but I don't know if they are crafts or whether they take on that appearance. There's a lot of information about people that may see like a orb or globe that then it turns into a humanoid shape and things like that. So it's like maybe they can take different shapes.
And they have like cloaking technologies. We were talking a lot about, just looking into the ocean and the different beings and fish that have that can, cloak and go invisible and change shape and change color, and you can't see them. And these are real life forms that exist in the bottom of the ocean. And I really do believe in the term "as above, so below." So if we look into the night sky, whether we're seeing craft or we're seeing beings that exist outside of the atmosphere, some people believe there's a big push now, this whole flat Earth talk, that there's water out there, that space is water, and these type of, so it would kind of give room to the beings that we're seeing in the ocean, seeing very similar entities in the sky even. Have you looked into underwater UFOs or anything like that?
I've looked into it a little bit, and I think they seem to be able to levitate and everything. So I don't know why they wouldn't be the same in water as they are in the air. And people report them coming out of water and going into water and things like that.
For people who don't know, tell us a little bit about Project Blue Book and what that whole deal is and your involvement with that.
I worked at Battelle Memorial Institute, and I've been at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And that was where Project Blue Book took place. And so I've talked to a number of people that worked in it. Its predecessors started about the time of the Kenneth Arnold sighting of flying saucers and Roswell. It was called, first of all, Project Saucer, because nobody knew anything about him. And it evolved into Project Sign, which was the government's study of UFOs. That was, in some ways, it was more open-minded than later studies, because they considered that they may be extraterrestrial or not man-made. But then they the government began to debunk the whole idea, and this evolved into Project Grudge, and it was named that because it was the government agency was set up to debunk everything. And later this evolved about 1952 into Project Blue Book, which lasted until 1969. And that was the government study of UFOs. And that was, for example, the History Channel had a program about it, a series, and it showed Dr. Hynek going out to investigate.
Sorry, I can only search by topic for movies.
I'm sorry.
It's listening.
I have no idea what that happened. What happened there? It just went off. Maybe it can hear me. And that was the long investigation where they took reports and went out and investigated and talked to the people that sighted the UFOs and had them fill out forms and things. And the part I was covering in more detail in my book was a study done by Battelle Memorial Institute. And it was, first of all, a top secret study. And people know about Project Blue Book, that Hynek and people went out and investigated and talked to people and that sort of thing, which was shown on the History Channel. But there was another part of it, and this was the secret part. And that's what they did with the data. And what they did with the data was design a real good questionnaire where they can take discrete properties of the UFO phenomena, such as how many do you see, how long did you see it, what shape was it, what color, and that sort of thing, and filled in with a questionnaire. They used the questionnaires to do a real good computer study of it, which was called Special Report number 14. And in this, after they did this good study, they found out that there's less than one chance out of a billion that UFOs are not conventional objects, that there's something else. So it kind of, in a way, proves scientifically that they exist. What were some of the ways that they would try to discredit people or
debunk all of this stuff? Was it to kind of go after the people who are having these experiences? And they always say, well, it's the redneck from the South. It's the man who lives in the woods and he's uneducated. And, why can't they abduct or appear to people who are smart and educated? It's always these dumb hillbillies in the mountains or in the woods or whatever. What were some of the things that they would do to try to debunk this? Or, some people have even talked about, targeted individuals where they, mess with people and drive them crazy, maybe even kill people. We've heard stories about. What are some of the different things that they would do to target individuals who are having these experiences? I mean, there's this weird hysteria even in the field for people who have had encounters, and they still to this day don't want to do what we're doing right now and talk about this stuff openly because they feel like they're going to be targeted by the government because they already know too much. What were some of the things that they were doing or are doing?
Well, they would take people that had perfectly good sightings and say they're crazy, they're imagining things, they're seeing the moon or things like that they couldn't possibly report. There was one real good sighting in Ohio called the Portage County UFO chase. It was by two policemen, Spar and Neff. It was a pretty well-known one. And these policemen were joking, first of all, with the police, somebody on the police radio who said a woman in Michigan saw a UFO, and everybody laughed about it, which is the common thing. And then they went to look at a car that was sort of weird. It had 7 steps to hell written on the doorway. And this object, as they were looking at the car, this object came over the trees very close to them and very bright. And they were no longer laughing. They were terrified. And they ran to their police car and got in it and called the police radio. And the person on the police radio said, "Shoot it." And they thought, this isn't such a good idea. But what happened next was, while they were on the police radio the whole time, they began to follow it. And they followed it through Ohio. It was fairly low and slow. And when they got to the Youngstown, Ohio Air Base, they heard that it was on radar and that they had scrambled jets, and people saw jets, and they had reports that it was on radar. So they kept on following it, and they got clear into Pennsylvania. There were a whole lot of witnesses. There were other policemen that saw it, and they were on the police radio all the time. So it was just an excellent sighting. But then Project Blue Book said they saw either Venus or a satellite, which didn't match what they described at all. And it made them look like they were crazy because they were police people, and it really affected their lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, so are these like, government funded programs that do this?
Well, they had, during Project Blue Book, they had 2 government projects that seemed to be set up to debunk UFOs. And one of them was called the Robertson Panel, where they, Battelle didn't want it to convene when it did because Battelle wasn't even finished with the studies, and they were going to give these expert scientists this information that was bad and then have them decide whether UFOs exist. And they they convened it even though they didn't have the data. The CIA was involved in that. And the end of it was that they wanted people to debunk UFOs and say people are crazy and put bad stories about them that were crazy on the internet and things to convince people that they didn't exist. And then later they had a study called the Condit report, where Dr. Condit from the University Colorado did a study, and he also concluded there's no such thing as UFOs. What he basically concluded is that they weren't of national, that they weren't dangerous. And he concluded basically that in phrases that they didn't exist, even though they couldn't explain 1/3 of their data, which meant his conclusion was basically meaningless, but it convinced the public, and that made him stop Project Blue Book.
Mm. Do you think that with all of this, disinfo out there, it would seem feasible and like a smart move to infiltrate ufology, to fund people, maybe even people who write books and maybe have large budgets of money behind them for promotion and media and things like that, to fund people who are disinfo agents and put them into the ufology community to maybe even be the face of ufology even? Do you think that there's people in the field that most of us know, without even saying any names really, who are, disinfo agents that are funded by someone, or maybe even, in it? I would phrase it to say that are just opportunists in it for the wrong reasons, but we don't even go there. Are there people who are funded by government corporations to get in here and push out a lot of disinfo? Do you believe that that's something that we have to kind of wade through in this community?
Yes. One of the first people that wrote about Roswell, I can't think of his name right now. He worked to I can't think of his name. He worked with the government to make a person called to make one person that was investigating UFOs look crazy. And this was a government work. They think that Richard Doty might be a disinformation agent, and I think he's admitted it maybe. I had interviewed a person, Robert Collins, that worked with him, who supported him, but I think a lot of people think he's a government disinformation agent. And there's a lot of people that are talk about kind of wild things that might be in that category.
It'll be some of the, Corey Goods, those kind of people.
Well, I better not mention names, but
yeah. Well, I have to second guess anyone who has it all figured out and can package it in such a way. Maybe it puts and this is just from a seeker myself. I don't want to put myself on a pedestal, but as far as someone who would, or to even just think of myself too highly, but someone who has had a lot of encounters, a lot of UFOs, a lot of visitations, again, I can't put it together like some of these people claim to do, and I don't know how they do it. And I'm sure you feel the same way with the extensive research that you've done, and you still are with me asking. It leaves you with more questions at the end of the day versus saying that this is exactly what it is. Now, you probably have a lot of conclusions of personally what you think they are, but to say, without the, shadow of a doubt, matter of fact, this is what we're dealing with, it's really hard to say. And that just makes you question anyone really who claimed to have it all figured out.
Yeah. And, a lot of people say they worked for the government and they saw all these things, bodies and everything. And I worked for the government and I didn't see bodies. I saw some evidence that there were underground chambers and things like that. But when I worked for the government, my supervisors turned in a UFO report And we were supposed to identify everything flying over this particular area of the Earth. And we didn't have a clearance for UFOs, even though it would be related to our work. And my supervisors turned in a report from our satellite photography, and they were severely debunked by the agency, even though we were kind of working in that field, which gave me the feeling that high up in the government, there's people that know something about them and are even debunking government workers.
Yeah, whether it's, like, again, I guess the second point of the second side of the point was the fact that, first of all, you have people who are, disinfo agents, but then you have people who are, opportunists, because this is a growing field. There's beginning to be a lot of money in this field, and book tours and speaking engagements and TV deals, and Ancient Aliens is huge right now. And so the people who would kind of get into the field, and maybe even if, there's probably people who started out and they meant well when they started, but who would just kind of, fluff up the stories a little bit and add things and, just make it up as they go. I really feel like we're dealing with a lot of people who do that, in the field. There's people who are just opportunists. And they're here, and we have to wade through their stuff, and they maybe have a bigger budget than you, and they have a better publisher, or whatever the case is, but they get more eyes on their material because it's flashy, because it's, as a matter of fact. And if you came out and said, as a matter of fact, you would probably get a little bit more attention on you, and this is what's going on, and you kind of have to push people around and maybe, degrade or try to debunk other people's work or whatever, even if they've made it their life work, and even if they're telling the truth. I think we have a lot of that going on too. It's in every field, it's in the religious field. It's in politics, but it's definitely in ufology as well.
And for example, MJ-12, which are purported to be documents leaked from the government that discuss UFOs and government people working with aliens and that sort of thing. Well, that's taken up an awful lot of UFO investigators' time, but there's no way to document whether any of it's right or not, and there's good reason to think it's not. But it seems like the government or somebody spent an awful lot of time working to get these documents to look right and look like they're real.
Yeah, you have a lot of that going on. But as far as your experiences, right, and people saying having their own personal encounters, we've heard tons of stories. Now, whether they're made up or real, I'm not sure. But as far, you said you've been down these different corridors and hallways where that would they lead to maybe UFOs that are docked there, or meeting rooms or holding cells. What do you think was down there in these different corridors that you found?
Well, I was just in the same place where people that had done the work, like Project Blue Book, had been. We just named it that because I'd walked down the same halls and corridors where they had done their work. But for example, at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, it's very, very secure. And so there's just maybe a very few, like 4 or 5 ufologists have actually been on base. And I was on base and I looked around because of work, and also I knew somebody that worked there that showed me around. And so I looked at some of the places where there were stories about aliens and hidden chambers and things. And I did find some evidence that suggested there were hidden chambers and that sort of thing. I've heard all kinds of informant stories about bodies and debris and things at Wright-Patterson, but I've never seen them. But I have seen evidence suggesting that the chambers were there where the people have described.
Speaking of the debris and stuff like that, what can you tell me about memory metal?
Well, this came from working at Battelle Memorial Institute. They were to do a study under Project Blue Book, a statistical study where they designed a questionnaire and did statistical work on it. So the workers that did that project were supposed to be statisticians and like psychologists and that type of people that design questionnaires. Well, it turned out that the actual people that did the study for Battelle were metallurgists, which had nothing to do whatsoever with what they were supposed to be doing. For some reason, they hired metallurgists. And so people wondered, why did they hire metallurgists when that wasn't their field and it wasn't what they wanted people to do? Well, another person back in the 90s had heard this one man who talked to this man in the 1950s when nobody really knew anything about Roswell or debris or anything else. And he was a metallurgist of some status. And he informally told this person that he was working on metal from the debris from a crash or metal from a UFO ET metal. And so anyway, this was just dormant for a long time. And I published it about 1994, just in a local little news letter. And then Smith and Carey, who wrote the book Witness to Roswell, one of the people that worked with them had interviewed me, and they put that into Witness to Roswell. Well, it turned out that Battelle had done some studies of nitinol, which might have some properties of memory metal, and it went all over the internet that possibly this was memory metal and possibly they had back engineered some form of memory metal from this.
Would that have to be? Would that be something like if you're dealing with mercury or something that's able to take shape and just mold and bend? How would you think that works? Yeah,
some of the people that apparently saw the Roswell crash said they collected this really weird type of metal that you would bend it and it would take its shape back, and you couldn't destroy it with anything like bullets and things like that.
So if you have this type of metal, maybe that would be, how they're able to cloak as well, able to bend light or have this metal, just change directions to where you can't even see it. And or even change the shape of the ship. We're talking about these plasma ships as well. People see these ships that are just morphing and changing shapes and combining with other ships, and a lot of really weird aerial phenomena that goes on. So do you think that would have something to do with the memory metal as well, probably?
It might. There were a lot of stories that I mentioned in my book. In Ohio is where Wright-Patterson is, and there's pretty definite proof that something was sent from Roswell to Wright-Patterson. And there's stories about not only Battelle, but other places where they investigated some unusual metals. And for example, Timken Roller Bearing had one of the hottest furnaces in the world. And there's a story that something was shipped out there and that they exposed it to this very hot furnace and it didn't hurt it at all. There's stories from Wright State University that these graduate students, I think, or scientists, were to explore the characteristics of this type of metal, and they fired bullets at it, and it just didn't hurt it at all.
Yeah. Bullets and ammo on it, and it just never even budged? This UFO that appeared?
Yeah, there's stories like that.
I wonder if there's some type of technology that can penetrate it, though. I try to talk to some people about this, and everybody comes from a different realm, but there's these different videos online of what looks to be some type of craft coming towards the Earth from space, and these are taken from different spaceships or satellites, and there will be a flash, and looks like a plasma beam or something shot from Earth up towards the craft, and it moves out the way and then turns around and leaves out the other direction. Seeing videos like that, and then doing the research about what the government knows about UFOs and aliens and things like that. And then we have Space Force, this thing that I think we've had Space Force for a very long time. We're just now hearing about it, probably because they're not going to be able to hide a lot more stuff that they're going to be doing in the open, maybe transporting some of these craft or ships or whatever the case is. So it's kind of in the open now. What's your take on that as far as like this war between space and us? From a religious standpoint, I do approach it from this way. And if there's a good and a bad, I feel like the bad people are here on Earth, running things and poisoning the water and doing all passing evil, wicked laws and all kinds of weird stuff that's happening on the Earth. I feel like these are the evil people, and the good guys are out there. To me, they are more angelic, right? And I do feel like there's a war. There's a lot of people who claim that with night vision goggles you can see fleets of UFOs. There's people who claim that you see them shooting at one another, or maybe it's us up there with nuts and bolts craft that are shooting at them. Edgar Cayce says that the Battle of Armageddon was going to be fought in outer space. Do you think that we are at war with some of these entities? And what is good, what is bad? Do you have an opinion? I know it's hard to say that but do you have an opinion on this?
No, I don't know. I think people have good traits and bad traits, and maybe they have a prime directive, like in Star Wars, to just interfere a tiny little bit, but to let us take care of our own problems and watch what happens or something.
I think Star Wars has a lot of information in it about what's going on. I really do. Even the angel thing, like there's quotes where they're talking about the angels that live on these other planets and stuff like that in Star Wars, and that they, star pilots and fighter pilots, and one day I'm going to grow up and be one. And there's all of these different quotes and stuff like that. Somebody who knew, a little bit more than we knew or know, put that stuff in there years ago, and now we're just hearing about Space Force, something that seems like it's out of a fairy tale or out of a Star Wars movie, is actually real life. There really is a Space Force that people are going to be able to sign up and go fight for, and all of this kind of stuff. But there's a lot of testimony from people who claim, and they're just claims, but people who claim to be a part of different projects like that and have been to space and have fought against these type of entities that are out there. And I think a more of a level-headed approach is to say that, they're not good or bad. They are like humans. They choose. Maybe they wake up on the wrong side of the bed and they have a bad day or whatever, just to say that they're all good or bad. But I do feel like there's like this cosmic code of enlightenment that to have that type of technology and to survive up there has to be some type of code of ethics or code of conduct. And I really do feel like, if there is a war, I don't feel like they're that, that bad. The beings that are out there that have been, I feel like they've been here, since the beginning, watching over us. I mean, there's cave paintings and all types of, it's mentioned in the holy books. They've been here. So if they wanted to destroy mankind or whatever the case is, they could have done that. That's not what they want to do. Now, if we're getting into some of the theories of some of the ancient alien stuff and the 12th planet and all of this, Zechariah Sitchin, that they've created humans to be a slave race to mine gold or, whatever the case is, some of that stuff may make sense, that they're just watching over the planet and making sure that everything goes as planned, almost as a pet, or, looking into a hamster cage or an ant colony or something, making sure everything goes good. You don't have any opinions on what's really taking place?
Well, they say that UFOs, people began to get that concept of that it was connected with aliens just before we developed our own space program. Before that, I think they had different cultural interpretations.
Yeah.
But some people say, well, it had something to do with us inventing the atomic bomb and things like that drew them in. But actually, Earth has been here for like 4 billion years, and it's had the characteristics where the astronomers from way off would know that it could have our type of life. And the universe is much, much older than Earth. And so more advanced types of beings would probably have known that we're here for a lot longer than Earth existed. I mean, even from our type of sun, they might be able to tell, that this sun has the characteristics where it may have planets with our type of life. So I imagine that beings in the universe have known that we're here for billions and billions and billions of years. And Earth is covered with life, and we're saying, well, why isn't there life someplace else? Well, we don't know. And maybe we're prevented from knowing. Maybe our reality is kind of limited, and we're just sort of, I won't say in a matrix, but maybe we just are not evolved enough to understand that there's other life forms around, and maybe they're here all the time.
Yeah, I do believe in some type of etheric field that exists around us where there's entities that live, or disembodied spirits. And some believe, especially with the flat earth stuff, is that they don't believe, like, they believe in UFOs and they believe in these entities, but they don't believe that they come from space. They believe that they come from just right here in our midst, and they're able to pop in and out through other, portals of dimensions and things like that. But when it comes to, we're not ready to, I guess, as a species to evolve, or we're not ready to handle the information, somebody knows about it, right? The government, someone knows, whether it's the Vatican, which probably holds some keys, the government, they know stuff, and they're keeping it secret for a reason. Why would they keep this secret? A lot of people say that all the world religions will fall apart, and that's an old notion. I don't believe that. I think that they've done polls and they've asked people how many people believe in the existence of aliens or UFOs, and the numbers are staggering, where people are just okay with it and they kind of believe. Whether there was periods of conditioning through the media, through Ancient Aliens, and pushing that to just get people ready to get the Pope. The Pope had a lot of quotes that he was getting people ready and saying, hey, well, maybe if they do exist, there are space brothers and we can win them to Jesus as well. All these weird quotes from the Pope and different world leaders and stuff like that, just kind of maybe getting the people ready. I don't think that if the government came out and told us the truth, that it would cause pandemonium, unless maybe if we were at war, maybe that would cause pandemonium. That we're fighting against them, that they are our creators and they want to come back, and maybe we don't want to give up our thrones. As far as us, I say, the world leaders, maybe that's the reason. I mean, I have to believe that it can't be something that's just easy for us to believe that they exist, unless there's some type of galactic war that's been going on for a long time and we're a part of it. Obviously, we're a part of something now by the name of Space Force, because that's a thing. That's not even that's a thing now. So something's going on, and maybe the existence is one thing, but then again, the agenda may be another. Maybe that's why they won't tell us, because then they would have to eventually disclose an agenda and who they are. We owe them something. We've exchanged technology now. We've signed treaties with them that they can abduct people or whatever. There's a lot of different theories out there, but what kind of thoughts, have you you wrestle with when it comes to this? Because there's a lot of government involvement. Why would they be withholding this information? Why don't they want the average Joe to know the truth, that this is a part of our reality? They do exist. Why wouldn't they want the American people or the people of Earth to know that they exist?
One of my thoughts is, what if the government is under mind control from the top parts of the government are under mind control from the UFO phenomena? That would be bad. And it would be bad because we wouldn't be finding out anything. It seems to me like transparency would be the best thing, but it's not the way it's organized. And I think when people first got the idea of UFOs, they were thinking about, these are Russian craft or things, and they wanted to find out all about them and keep the enemies, the other countries, from knowing, and say, well, we know all about them and the other countries don't. And so I think that's how it started. And it started as classified information from the very beginning, because they interpreted it as from other countries. And I think it's been in the military ever since, instead of in scientific research where it should have been. Yeah. And so it still is in the military and the government, which will hide things and use ridicule and everything else to keep people from studying it, which they have. So, I just wonder if there might be some kind of mind control influencing the government from the UFO phenomena.
Well, maybe that's where it comes into the whole demon thing, influencing, the minds of the leaders who are doing bad things or whatever the case is, or holding stuff back. There's a lot of theories out there about, the origins of civilization and who we are and who our leaders are at that elite bloodline, and who, where they come from, or they even come from, another solar system, themselves, or the different races down here on the earth, or just, are seeded from different galactic, organizations as well. It really gets the mind working, but of just knowing that something exists, even though we can't put our finger on it, something's going on. And I think that's enough research to just really get people exploring and trying to make contact and stuff like that. Have you ever tried to make contact? The whole, close encounters for the first, second, third, fourth, and, we have the fifth kind, and CE5 initiative, where people are now going out, not being contacted themselves, but they're trying to initiate contact. Have you ever been a part of any of those type of groups of stargazing and trying to communicate? You talking about this mind control, and dealing with that could be dealing with telepathic communication. Have you ever experienced any of that stuff? And do you feel a connection with them? Maybe when you gaze at the stars, that's where you come from. Is there a connection there? Have you, does any of that ring a bell for you with trying to, say, hey, who are you? And, and kind of engaging contact yourself? There's a lot of people doing it. And some people claim to have success doing it.
I never tried it because it seemed like what happened was that my sister and I were contacted. Like we had our first experience before we ever heard of UFOs. And so we weren't trying to contact anything. And we were both terrified. And I wonder if fear has it's nature's way of telling you to be careful or things like that. And so I think I've been invited to go with people that say they say UFOs all the time. And I'm curious about that. And I've wanted to go, and somehow I just haven't made it. So I haven't really explored the idea of contacting them, because I have a cautious nature.
You're not the only one. There's a lot of people who we start talking about things like that, and they just throw up a red flag. Be careful, you know. I just released.
Tells me to be careful. Maybe it's fear or something like that.
I just released a new T-shirt, and it's a picture of my little character being abducted or taken away, my logo, by aliens on a ship. It's a pretty cool T-shirt. Just released that, but then some of the comments, people are saying, be careful. What if your shirt facilitates that? Maybe you will it to happen and you get taken away upon a ship. I've had a lot of close encounters, and there is that fear that still gets there when you see a craft. There's that awe and wonder as long as they stay far away. But when they come in, the programming, the movies, all of these type of things, it comes back to say, oh, what if Fire in the Sky was really a true story and it happened like that, and they're going to take me and not bring me back like that. You still have to battle with the fear and stuff, but I think you really have to move past that to initiate anything. I mean, fear is what cripples people. You know, fear holds people in dead-end jobs to not step out and fulfill their passion, because what if I don't make it? What if I fall on my face? What if I get abducted? You know, so there is that fear that's there, but at the same time, it could be a healthy fear, and it's a fear for a reason. But you know, there's people doing it, and you know, I guess encourage exploration, and just like to hear about people's encounters. You know,
I'm exploring, but I'm not inviting everything into my mind that might be there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But you've never had that? You don't think you've ever had that telepathic communication where they say, hey, look up, here we are, and you look up and you see them, or anything like that?
Yeah, sort of, sometimes, just by coincidences. And I couldn't say
it's a strong coincidence. Hey, look up, there they are.
Yeah, that's everything. So I wonder, did this really some kind of a communication, or was it coincidence? And I don't know.
Yeah. I think if it starts happening more and more, you know, you start having a couple of them, maybe once or twice, but when it's like a bunch of things, like, you know, people talking about synchronicities and seeing the same numbers, hearing the same phrases, those type of things over and over. It's like, hold on, something is trying to get my attention, whether it's, you know, God, or we could say God, or we could say the angels, or they could be the ETs that hold all of this stuff together, you know, and are here communicating with us. Or you talking about having the government under mind control, or have us all under some type of weird mind control. I mean, if the government's being controlled, I mean, they regulate what's on the television and what we put into our bodies and all kinds of stuff. So it's like, if you have the head, then all of us are kind of by default in this weird, you know what I'm saying, disillusion as well, and in our own reality and what we believe is real in this life and existence. And it does leave us with more questions. It's not as simple as saying, oh, you know, and even as people in the comment sections here watching this live are saying, oh, they're demons, they're just demons. It's like, I don't think it's that easy. Like, it maybe makes us feel good, like we have it all figured out, but I don't think we know. And maybe even the people at the top, we're talking about the world leaders and the religious leaders, and thinking that they know, maybe they just know a portion or a fraction of what it is that is really going on, and how it operates, and who's who, maybe, of this type of, you know, galactic alliance or federation. Or maybe they've been lied to as well. I don't know. It does intrigue me, though. And I've given my life, much like you, to trying to understand what's going on. And, you know, and I'm left here asking more questions at the end of the day, which is what usually happens. But,
yeah,
you know,
people want to protect their power too, which may have something to do with the government not admitting that things can fly around that we have no control over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's definitely a whether say a race for power, or a thirst for power, or wanting to keep your throne, mm-hmm. you know, your thrones of dominion over the earth, and something's going on. and we're left here with more questions. But the good thing about these conversations is that other people, are listening to these, and they hear stories like that you've had, like when you were younger, you and your sister, and they've had similar stories as well, similar encounters. And I'm reading here in the comment section, people are saying, yeah, I've had something similar as well. And to let you know, hold on, first of all, I'm not crazy. I don't need to go see a psychiatrist. Other people are having similar encounters. Let's get to the bottom of it, and at least let us reason and try to figure out what's going on. There's something strange about, you're talking about the kids who are having these encounters, right? People who have had this encounter when they were 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and it marks them. It sets them out on this path of, seeking out the divine, asking the bigger questions and getting to the bottom of it. Whether it's the divine that's marking them, or, hey, I need you to this is how I'm going to prep you. I'm going to say hello to you when you're a kid. I'm going to come in your room and let you know what's going on. That's going to shape the course of your life. That's going to lead you to ask the bigger questions and into these different fields of research and things like that. So I really enjoyed this conversation. If there's anybody who wants to check out your work, you've got several books, some interesting ones at that. If people want to check out your work, check out your books, where's the best place for them to look that stuff up at?
My website is irenascott.com, and they can just put in the name Irena Scott and it should pop up. It shows my books, and if they click on a book, it just immediately goes to Amazon.com and they can order.
One of the books here that catches my attention, God is a Woman, The Origins of Yahweh, Allah, and the Gods of India and Asia. What's the premise of that? I feel like that would make for a good episode as well.
That's the evidence that the original religion for most of the time humans have existed has been a goddess, a female goddess, and that the religions that we have now with a male are derivative of the original religion, and that maybe the original religion was different and more open-minded than some of the so-called religions we have now that worship males as the deity. That today's religions are kind of competitive, where the Muslims are killing the Jews and the Jews are killing somebody, the Christians are killing somebody else, and there's a whole lot of strife. That maybe that really isn't religion. Maybe religion is following the golden rule and doing things to help other people regardless of their appearance or nationality or religion or anything else.
Yeah,
those things.
What did it say? God made man in his own image, and then man, turned around and created God in his own image, fashioned a God after their own liking. Hey, this is how we want God. It is very funny how your God loves or hates the things that you love and hate. Yeah. Your, religious upbringing, or God doesn't like gay people. Well, no, you don't like gay people. And, or God doesn't tolerate this, but he tolerates that. He doesn't get into this, but that's okay. We're not going to address that. We're going to sweep that under the rug. And it has so much to do with control and fashioning a God after our own image and likeness, which at the end of the day is idolatry, creating a God after our own image. And so you see that a lot, and it moves into cognitive dissonance, and people, they don't even ask these bigger questions about why they, believe in a type of God that caters to them. And it's the same way with, I talk about, the medium world, where people are channeling and mediums, and how convenient that the information's coming through is stuff that they already believe and things that they want to say, but they can't say it unless they have a channel, and so religion even acts as a channel to really say how you really feel and how bitter you may be, or how hateful you may be, and how pleasing your God feels the same way, and each and every one of these, or how liberal you are. Your God's liberal, mine too. So it's really interesting. I'd love to have a conversation with you about that one as well. We'll have to do it again.
Good.
All right, my friend. Well, I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and we'll do it again very soon. Thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me and having me. You're very interesting to talk to.
All right, thank you, my friend. We'll do it again.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Irena Scott. Good stuff. At the end of the day, man, like, more questions. You think you know, but you have no idea. Just when you turn the leaf, there's so much more. More questions. And then, you know, a life of pursuit, but still can't put your finger on it. Can't say that this is exactly what it is. And I really do question the people who claim to have it all figured out. But then again, in my mind, I'm like, isn't that kind of pompous of me to say just because I don't have it figured out means that they don't have it figured out? That's kind of pompous of me to say, right? Just because I don't know it all doesn't mean that they don't know it all. But I really don't think that they do. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. I've given my life into pursuit of this and how it works, the spirit realm, God, the angels, demons, devils, entities, fairies, all of that stuff. Are they real? Or are they real if you believe it? That's deep. They exist if you think they do. I really lean more towards that now. If you believe that they exist, then they do. Even if it's just for you, in your mind, in your reality, in your imagination. Whatsoever a man thinketh in his heart, so shall he be. Whatever you shall believe, nothing shall by any means be impossible unto you. It becomes real just for you, in your world. Write a book. Tell people, do a podcast, do music, get a budget, begin to roll out this idea, market it, maybe create apps in the internet and algorithms that stifle other opinions and promote yours, to change the narrative, to change the way that we think, to push that narrative out there, to make people think that this is real, whatever it is that you believe. If not the old souls, if not us, we're stuck in our ways at this point, right? If not us, maybe the next generation, maybe to make them think that this is okay. Maybe for them to think that this is the way people should think, or this is the way you engage with people, or engage with God, or engage with sex, or engage with culture. This is the right way, right? They write the narrative, changing of the narrative. This is what we're dealing with, man. It's crazy. The universe works in such a way. We had this discussion this morning, me, Watchman, and The Voice, just about how the internet is fashioned in such a way that you can pretty much find any information that you're looking for. You can go to Google, be your best friend, and you look up something, you're going to find it. Yeah, I remember years ago, just looking up, I woke up and there was this loud humming noise outside, and it sounded like a diesel engine. It was like 5 a.m. I needed to get up at like 6 for work. I woke up and won't. When I go outside, I'm like, what the heck is that noise? It just sounds like a diesel engine crank. It sounds like a loud truck, but it's just permeating the atmosphere, almost feeling like it's coming from above. So I get online, and this is when I'm doing Illuminati, UFO research, all that kind of stuff at the time. This is probably back in 2009, maybe. And so I look up UFO sound diesel engine. I found a website where people are talking about seeing UFOs, that when they seen them, they sound like a diesel truck running an engine. Won't. It's like, wow. It's like, so there, hey, I got proof. It was a UFO somewhere out there. It's pretty low. You know, Google exists in a way that you find what you're looking for. You'll find someone that believes it. You'll find a religion. You'll find a church even that believes what you believe and caters to what you believe in. I used to go to a church that catered to bikers. Everyone had mohawks, purple hair, nose piercings, wore leather jackets. And that was the church. They catered to those people. There was a church right across the street that caters to upper class white people. They did not allow homeless in their church. The homeless people came, they turned them away. They actually brought them to the biker church. You know, there's a religion, there's a church, the internet, all work in such a way that you find what you're looking for. But I believe that the universe works in such a way. Not just the internet, but the universe. And so some of these concepts that may seem far out to someone, some of these concepts that, again, people do laugh at, people do scoff at, they think you're crazy, you know, it's truth for you. You've experienced it. You've encountered it. The other people have no idea what the heck you're talking about. No idea what you're talking about. But you've encountered it. You've been to those realms. You've done the research. But then again, don't let that pride overtake you and feel like a know-it-all because you've done the research, because you have the experience. You have to approach it with a sense of grace, a sense of mercy, because you were just like them at one point when someone pulled you aside and tried to give you some truth, or pulled you aside and tried to correct you on some things, and you didn't want to hear it. So now that you so-called have the truth and you want to share it, you have to show those people that same grace. Show those people that same grace that was shown to you. That's all you can do. No more, no less. As it was given, freely given to you, freely receive, freely give it. That's what you got to do. You'll find what you're looking for. I got friends who, like I said, again, they look for the evil in everything. I mean, there's comment. You just go through the comment section of YouTube, especially anything spiritual. I got a lot of people sending me, still sending me Stephen Bancar's videos. Please don't send me Stephen Bancar's videos. I don't want to see them. It's counterintuitive, counterproductive. I know what he's about. I know what he brings. He's trying to debunk everything that, you know, my show, everything that I stand for, right? And people still send me those videos almost like a slap in the face. Like, see, listen to this guy. He's telling you that they're evil. He's telling you that meditation is demonic. Publicly, again, please stop sending me Stephen Bancar's videos, people. I got a couple of people who just insist on doing that, and maybe I'll repent, or maybe I'll start believing like he does. Again, you'll find whatever you're looking for. We've talked about this so many times. Go online right now. We should just, okay, we're doing an experiment. For those of you who are listening on the podcast apps, visually you won't be able to see this, but I'll try to explain it and do decent commentary. So let's see. Only me. Let's see. Me and web. Here we go. So here's me and the computer. We're going to go to YouTube here. Okay. And there's me and YouTube. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to look up videos. Why I left. Wow. Why I left why I left Christianity for Buddhism, why I left Christian Science, why I left Christianity. And we're just gonna look at this. Tons of videos. Why ex-pastor leaves the church, says the Bible isn't real. Why I am no longer a Christian. Now let's just say the person who's kind of green. Let's just say they don't know a lot of stuff. They haven't researched a lot. This is the first video they watched. Corey Fresco. Tried to get him on the podcast a couple years ago. Why I left Christianity. And this is the first video you've seen. You'll see this guy, and you may hear his story, and that may be your conclusion. Or you may watch 6 of these videos. And most of these people say why they left Christianity, but now they're pagan. They left Christianity, and now they're atheist or Buddhist or they're spiritual, right? But then again, so Corey Fresco, let's just say he definitely deals with more the Vedic traditions now, more of Hindu. And then say Why I Left Christianity, tons of videos. It can reshape your mind. Why I Left Christianity. Let's say Why I Left Hinduism. And here you go, Why I Left Hinduism for Christianity. These are going to be a bunch of videos about people who came out of Hinduism. And they're going to tell you bad stuff about Hinduism. They're going to tell you bad stuff about the leaders, bad stuff about the doctrine. They met Jesus, you know what I'm saying? They just believe all religion is fake. Whatever the case is, you're going to listen to all these people. This is the same thing. Go back. These are Why I Left Christianity. Christianity, Jesus is very near and dear to my heart, right? Jesus is very near and dear to my heart. And here's a lot of people saying why they left. And then on the other hand, people who have went to Hinduism, right? Keep going. Meditation. Let's just see. You'll probably see my video. Meditation is dangerous. Look at that. Meditation is dangerous. Here's Dr. Oz showing you the benefits of meditation. The dark side of meditation. Meditation is demonic. Right? Should Christians meditate? Is yoga a sin? You know, all of these weird ideas. And here's people who have probably had some weird experience meditating or studying information about meditating, and they have a testimony how God called them out of the New Age and away from meditation, and they were called out of it, and you should leave it too. But then again, you're going to find people who have maybe encountered Jesus during meditation. You're going to find people who have changed their life, become better people. They've maybe kicked addiction. I got a friend of mine right now, did a podcast with him, Andrew. He meditates 15 minutes every morning, changed his life. Helps him to be mindful, helps him to set the intention for the day. Has ecstatic encounter, beautiful encounters. And you're going to find people on both sides. You're going to find people who disagree and crap on everything. It's just the truth. So for you to say aliens are demons, I got some other people who have other encounters and they'll tell you something different. Really, when it comes to ufology and, you know, my standpoint, I started off following this stuff or studying this stuff in Christianity. Not really, because I was fascinated as a kid. I was scared of them as a kid, though. Then I became a Christian and I got into ufology as a Christian. But they were all saying the same thing. And I felt like they had an agenda. Most of them were saying that they were demons. You know, because you go to your favorite pastor, that's what they're going to tell you. But if you approach any of these subjects with an open mind and listen to more than one person, you're going to find out that it's a little bit more eclectic than you think. But cognitive dissonance prevents us from stepping out of our comfort zone, looking into other ideas, or even we have these ideas that we cling to and they become idols unto us, a belief system, a church, whatever. That was one of my big problems and still is one of my biggest problems with religion and church. It's the fact that your pastor believes one thing, and it's the agreed upon doctrine of the denomination. And if he has a revelation, a divine encounter, maybe he read something in the Bible that was illuminated to him about something that they're teaching that's wrong. They're teaching something that's wrong. And the I'm sorry, Brenda, I don't have the phone lines open. And that pastor finds out this new information. He can't teach it. He has to teach the agreed upon doctrine of the church. He has to teach the agreed upon doctrine of the assemblies of God, of the Church of Christ, of whoever. And I don't. That's one thing, man. You have to be open to think that you have the corner, to think that you have the market cornered. To think that you are the know-it-all, that you understand it all. Especially people when they're young. Let's look at Stephen Bancarz. This is the dude who just became a Christian. Now he's an expert on all of it. He just got born again. Praise God. He was into some things. He got in over his head. He met Jesus, changed his life. That's a beautiful story. But now he's an expert on Christianity. Now he's an expert on the New Age and all this kind of stuff. So I don't believe it. I'm not buying it. Just like I don't believe Stephen Bancarz is an expert, I don't believe Corey Goode is an expert. I'm sorry. I don't believe that most of these people who you hail as experts, are they well-spoken? Maybe. Do they wear a nice suit? Do they got a great presentation? Do they speak at the conferences? Maybe. Does that make them an expert? No, not at all. Maybe they're older. Maybe they speak with an authority, even though they're speaking BS. They speak BS with authority, and so much so that we just believe it. We're convinced by their performance, by their aura. We think that they're telling us the truth. Maybe they speak with an accent. Maybe they speak like Graham Hancock. Maybe they speak like Richard Dolan. Right? And we just believe them because it's just like we're just like enamored. Like they sound smart. Maybe I feel that way because I don't think I sound smart. Right? People listen to this and I get made fun of all the time in the comment sections about how hood I am or how I think I'm black. Who's this jive turkey? Like I get all those weird comments, But truth is truth at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who's speaking it, man. But you have to move past the packaging. At the end of the day, truth speaks for itself. It stands for itself. And, I deal with a lot of people, especially a lot of Christians who will say, truth is found in the person of Jesus Christ. Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father except by me. I believe that. But I believe that what that means and what that represents isn't what you think. You think that means about agreeing to your church doctrine, coming and being baptized at your church. Let us all speak the same things and essentially become lemmings. That doesn't mean that. That's not what that means. He said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. He's talking about love, man. Love is the way, the truth, and the life. Because all those people who name the name of Christ, that is a part of your denomination, that is a part of your churches, they're racist, they're bigoted, they are the biggest gossipers, they're the biggest backbiters. Yeah, they're performing miracles. Yes, they're helping the poor. But Jesus said, look, depart from me, I never knew you. Why do you say you love me and you don't do the things that I tell you to do? It gets a little bit complicated, if you will, of what is truth. Jesus is truth until we start talking about aliens. Jesus is truth until we start talking about tithing, until we start talking about prophesying, until we start talking about speaking in tongues. Then it's not about Jesus anymore, and it's about these other things that accompany the religion. And it's okay to talk about these things. It's okay to differ in your opinions of these things. It really is. It's not okay to lash out. It's not okay to gossip. It's not okay to name call, slander. That's not okay. And so that's what accompanies a lot of these different ideologies, religious beliefs, Though how different we may be, we're all the same at the end of the day. Those people are not your enemy. Though we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but with powers and principalities in heavenly places. That person is not your enemy. A person is your brother or your sister. So that person might need help, and you may be the one to help them, especially if you can discern what they're going through, right? If you can discern what they're going through and discern the spirits that are on them, you've learned how to do it. You have an eye for that, an ear for that. Then what? Backbite, gossip, slander, kick them out. You've discerned it. You've done well. You've done well. But then what? Is greater is he that is in me, or is greater is he that is in them? Greater is he that is in them. No, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. This is not a battle of flesh and blood. It's a spiritual battle. Powers and principalities, thought forms, ideas. People have researched stuff that you wouldn't even begin to fathom. They've opened up doors and portals to other realms that they cannot close, and they need help. They need help. Who's going to help them? Me? I can't help everybody. Your pastor? No, he ain't finna help. He done showed you that. We're a people, man. Chris Garner, tribe. Yeah, we're eclectic, man. We are peculiar people, the Bible says. Differences of opinion, differences of beliefs. I mean, every one of us is different, but we're beautiful, man, and what we bring to the table. And you have to train yourself to honor that. It's like default to find out what makes us different. You got to honor what makes us different, man. And I'm just intrigued with their process. What did they learn? Why do you feel this way? What did they say to you? What did they do to you? Why do you feel this way? About what? Everything. About religion? Definitely. Why do you think it's okay to have 17 wives? Let's get to the bottom of that. That's interesting. Okay. And people believe crazy stuff, man. Why do you believe in aliens, TruthSeekah? Let me show you. Let me tell you. Listen to a couple podcasts. Get past the intro. Stay a little bit longer. Let us reason. Right? One of the fruits of the spirits is long suffering, being able to suffer long ways with someone, regardless of what they believe, regardless of how offended you are. It's walking in your power, knowing who you are, and not being a chameleon, not being one who is easily pushed around by every wind of doctrine. Some of you guys are like that. I've been there. You got to know who you are, or you allow these other people to tell you who you are. You're just a chameleon. You just blend in with the environment. You're loved, man. I woke up with this word on my heart this morning, really strong, for my life, and for you too. But seek godly counsel. Seek godly counsel. There is wisdom in a multitude of counsel. Seek godly counsel. Get direction. Quit trying to be a lone horse, be a rebel, lone ranger. There's power in numbers. Where 2 or 3 come together and agree, touching on anything, there I am in the midst of them. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst. If one can set 1,000 aflight, 2 can set 10,000 aflight. How many if we got 6 or 7? How many if we got 8 or 9? Look what Jesus did with 12. 12 people. Each one reached one. Each one of those people went off and got 12 under them, trained them up in righteousness, They trained 12 up. They went out. They changed the world. We're having this conversation now. 12 people. Power in numbers. Power in unity. Long suffering. The spirit. Seek godly counsel, man. I mean, what's the opposite of that? It's seeking ungodly counsel. Going to the counsel of the wicked. What is that? Shit, it's the media. Turn on your television. Scroll through your Facebook. You'll see. You'll see. There's power in numbers, man. There's a unity in the spirit of the brethren that nothing and no one can take away from you. Spirit of Christ. It's all about love, man, at the end of the day. That was on my heart. I sent out some messages this morning and sought godly counsel. Hit up some godly people that I believe in. You do the same. Find people. Surround yourself with people of vision, people of valor, people who are not easily swayed, people who walk in love, a supernatural love. A love for the broken, a love for the fallen, a love regardless of beliefs. Look for those people. Those are the others. Those are the ones. Those are the people you need. Whoever they may be. And you're going to go through your own challenges. You got to prove what you believe. Make sure you believe it. You've been talking a good game. Now it's testing. Do you really believe it? Do you really love people? What about this person who brings out the worst in you? They exist. Me. I'm telling you, it's still me. I get it, man. I get it. I choose love. I choose peace. The Bible says that if it's possible to live peaceably with all men, if it's possible, speak evil of no man. I'm trying. We're all tempted. We're all tried. We all have to prove what we really believe. Those names come up. Those people come up. People want to reach out and touch somebody. They bring out the worst in you. You've been hurt, wounded, made fun of, laughed at, ridiculed, forgotten, picked over. No. Bless them. Actively bless them. Call their name. Bring their name before the throne of the Father. You have an eye for a reason. I'm telling you, this is why we got to talk about this stuff. We move in the prophetic. We are a people of the spirit. Most people who are even listening this deep into this conversation are people who have had spiritual encounters. It's birthed something within them. They're more sensitive to the spirit realm. They're empathic. They know what people are thinking. With that comes great responsibility. You'll go mad. Yeah, I just had a guest on the other day, talked about a Kundalini awakening. It will kill you. It will drive you insane. And guess what? Some people don't make it. Some people don't make it. It's true. Those, even now, people who your best friends, they'll never turn on you. You never know. There's always a line that people are not willing to go past. Look at Jesus. He's speaking to 5,000 people, blowing their minds, sharing wisdom, sharing knowledge, the Beatitudes. He's just telling them about love, man, blowing their minds. And then he hits them with something deep. And they said, man, what the hell is he talking about? And they left. They said, man, this dude is crazy. This dude is, they found that line. They couldn't follow him any further. It was like a multitude of people. It was only just a few people left with him after that. Because they understood what he was talking about. They understood what he was talking about. Being able to long suffer. People are going to walk with you, man. You're going to offend people. You're going to get offended. Don't let that take root. Bitterness and offense will kill you, choke you out. You'll take it to the grave with you. Bitter, mad, triggered even at a people group. You're mad at a people group. I got friends who don't like black people. They were beat up by a black person. They're robbed by black people. Now they don't like any black people. They think all black people are, they're triggered. I got friends who don't like cops. Cops kill black people. Cops are this. Cops do that. Never call the cops. Never snitch. None of that. They have these weird preconceived notions and they judge all people, just like we were talking about earlier. Just judging all aliens are demons. All aliens are this. All black people are this. All Mexicans are that. No. Come on, man. If you have any of those stigmas, any of those triggers, you got to move past it. They exist for a reason. I've been talking about this a lot. The triggers exist for a reason. Your heart races for a reason. Why does your heart race? Because you have an open wound. And what if somebody's about to touch that open wound? You know it. It's finna hurt. It's finna hurt. Don't touch it. So you're protective of it. It's not healed. It's not even scar tissue. It's still open. And someone touches that wound, you get triggered and you jump and you get defensive and you protect it. And that's how we are. With our belief systems, with our fears, with our faith, with our folly, with all of it. We're protective of it, but it's a good thing, because to know why my heart's racing, to know why I don't want to have this conversation, let me address that. We're talking about ascension. We're talking about enlightenment. We're talking about healing. You have to go to the places that hurt. You have to deal with the brokenness, no matter where it is, at any level of your life. All of us are at different places, and the deeper you go, the more of that alchemical healing process you're going to have to deal with. Because it gets deep. The word of God is sharper than any two-edged sword. It's able to decipher between the flesh and between the spirit. The word of God is like gazing into a Bible. You start reading about yourself, these different layers of yourself, the egoic mind, how selfish you are, throwing all that stuff off. And then eventually when you get the healing, you want others to be healed as well. You want others to be healed as well. And you want to tell people, because you found the light. I got friends who preach on street corners. They found the light. At least their light. And they want to tell people. I got friends who become vegans. They want to tell people. I have friends who've had UFO encounters. They want to tell people. Had friends who have ayahuasca, psilocybin mushroom encounters. Guess what? They want to tell people. It's helped them. You have what everyone is looking for. You've experienced it. You've encountered it. You want to share it. Good. You would be selfish to keep it in. You'd be selfish not to tell anyone. It's good. But most of us out here have a zeal without knowledge. You have the zeal, which is beautiful, but you have to do the knowledge. You have to show grace, long suffering. Let your actions, let your words be seasoned with salt. It preserves it. Salt heals it. I'm talking about people are hurting, man. People are dying. They have open wounds, and our words are salt. And we can even heal with our words. Season every conversation, seasoned with salt. You guys know we've been talking about casting out demons just through conversation. Hey, I'm just talking, but I'm mission-minded. I'm intentional. Every conversation, seasoned with salt, preservers of the earth, the manifestations of the sons and daughters of God, that the whole and the entire creation is waiting on you to stop playing games and get your act together. All of creation. Truth anyhow. Hey man, I really love you guys and enjoy these conversations. My guest was an awesome guest, Dr. Irena Scott. She's got some really cool books. Ufology is very near and dear to my heart. The angelic, the demonic even is very near and dear to my heart. I want to know how it operates. I want to know how not to get possessed. You know what I'm saying? So I study this stuff and I know a lot of you guys do too. And having these conversations opens up because we've been places that other people don't have to go. And you don't have to get possessed. I was already there. Let me tell you what it looks like. Right? There is a warning, but there's also a call to come. Exploration beyond your wildest dreams. That comes through a relationship and an encounter with the Father of Lights, with the being, the essence that created all of this. Each one of us to beckon to come and die. Come and deny yourself. Take up your cross and follow me, he said. But in doing that, you find out that you will truly live. In order to receive your life, you must lose it. But he who loses his life will find it. You have to be born again, man. I'm hearing all these beautiful stories. The Kundalini awakening with my friend Lola Scarborough the other day. She said, I felt like I was just born again, born a second time, renewed. The fire, the cleansing fire. We all need that daily, man. Stir it up. Beyond your wildest dreams, it's real. Reading the comments. Everybody had beautiful encounters. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Karen on Facebook. The Facebook, or the streaming video here, comments quit working, but here's this weird person, LB. He just keeps commenting all over my stuff. Just some weird like promo. That's kind of weird. That's done away with. Just promoting your stuff on other people's videos. That's what we used to do back in the day. That's why MySpace fell apart. Because it became, all you got was spam from rappers and artists trying to promote their mixtapes. And they would just flood your inbox and flood your comments. And people still do that. They think that that works. Don't do that, LB. Get you some research SEO and research ads. How to do ads, targeted ads to people who are into what you have to offer. For real. Do it. You don't have to spam people's stuff. It happens. So yeah. Let's see. I'm going to read the comment section. Ren says, love you. Thanks for your boldness in declaring God's heart. We need more of that and will call us to mature and grow in love. For sure, man. For sure. Christian says he loves the t-shirt. Made his day. TruthSeekah's face was so funny. Yeah. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can have it here again. Let's see. I think it's. I don't know. I think it's here. Let's see. Bing. Right there. So there's the t-shirt for all of you guys watching. I've got a bunch of shirts, man. We have these t-shirts. We have beautiful TruthSeekah coffee mugs. Just trying to be creative, man, with different ways to support the podcast, you know. We have, you know, the music's there. It only brings in so much money. Not a lot. Because people just download, you know, they download stuff for free or listen to it on YouTube. Trying to find creative ways to promote, to get the podcast out there. But then again, we got some cool t-shirts, so you can support the show and look good at the same time. You can look good doing it, right? Just go to TruthSeekah.com. There's a link there. Click on shop. All of those shops are different though. So the t-shirts is one link, and then there's a link for music, and then a link for digital music and all that stuff. The best way to support is via Patreon, man. It really helps us fund what we're trying to do. And I know people are going through a hard time right now financially. Not a lot of people are able to help, but a little bit goes a long way. So just a little bit, if it's $5, $10, $1, like a little is much when God's in it, right? A little bit goes a long way. So if you're able to support, if you believe in the work, I'm asking you to support. Just whatever you're able to do, man. Just anything helps. So thank you guys who have been supporting. Thank you guys who believe in my work. I really could, and I should, just go through the comment section and just go through my inbox and show you the people whose lives are impacted by this. By this. Why? Look, God uses the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. How can God use a interview about UFOs and aliens to spark a light and change someone's life? I remember I used to get a lot of comments where people say, I listen to your podcast, I love the conversation, but I watch for the post-podcast discussion. I really watch to hear the post-podcast discussions. And that's the ministry. That's why we do it. To get you here. We got some truth in it. I like UFOs. I like aliens. I'm intrigued by the conversation. I love it. I got something to add. I've got encounters. We all do, right? But it's something deeper, man. It's something spiritual that connects us all. And I'm telling you, it's crazy. I praise God. So financially, it's I don't make a lot of money doing this, and this is a listener supporter thing that I've taken on. I do trust God that He has called me to this, and He'll, if He gives me the vision, He'll also give me the provision to make it happen. But again, if you're able to give, if you believe in the work, sign up for my Patreon. Any level of giving really helps. We were trying to do an event. I've been promoting it, and I had to kind of quit promoting it because we had to cancel it. So we had an event scheduled. It was going to be Encounter Memphis. We were going to be in Memphis next week, and doing a workshop, doing a concert, a healing retreat, seminar, whatever. It was going to be good. We was all looking forward to it, but we weren't able to sell enough tickets, and we weren't even able to pay for the building, so we had to cancel the event. So, it is my vision to do more things like that and to really step out. And so, supporting my work is going to open up doors so that we can do that. So, we want to travel, get out there. We have a tribe. It's not just me. There's a bunch of people. We've interviewed a bunch of them, and we're going to interview more. Shout out to Chris Garner. He's going to be on here in a couple weeks. Good friend of mine. It's going to be good. But yeah, there's a lot of people, and we want to get out there. We want to travel and do some engagements and some weekends and some activations. There's a lot we can do from the computer, and we're going to do it. I'm going to do it. But there's something different about being able to be there together as a family and to press in together. You know what I'm saying? To engage heaven together, to pray together, to eat together, to fellowship together. Heck, to do karaoke together, right? Let's just hang out, man. We're a family. And again, patreon.com/TruthSeekah. I know people fall upon hard times, and not everyone's able to give, but a little goes a long way. So thank you guys who've been faithful in supporting, and you just, believe in what I'm doing. And I thank you, and my family thanks you. So with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Really enjoyed this conversation. Loved hanging out with everyone in the live stream, in the chat. Makes it beautiful. Allie says, do a show of answered prayers through this podcast. It's not a boastful or prideful. It's helping, and it's miraculous. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's so many people who have just been touched by it. And it still blows my mind. It really does. Because, but it's intentional. We are mission-minded. Even though it just seems like we're talking about aliens. Something deeper. I'm talking about the one who created the aliens. I love y'all, man. Peace and shalom. I'm gonna get off of here. If you're not a member of our Discord, the link is in the description. Hang out with us. We hang out there. You could talk on your cell phone, on your computer, wherever it is. Hang out with us on Discord. We'd love to have you there. And if you'd like to talk to me, I'm available there. A lot of people want to text me and message me and send me all these messages. I'd rather just jump in Discord and give you a few minutes and just talk to you. Right? I'm better at that than will you do. You know what I'm saying? It's not as personal for me. Discord is awesome. We're taking advantage of it. Holla at you. Love y'all. Peace and shalom. Go buy my t-shirt. Exit through the gift shop. Buy the t-shirt. Peace.
Your way so much higher than mine. So much higher than mine. So much deeper than mine. So much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.